So now I want to talk to you about data types, and these are pretty simple to understand because, well, if you've gone through high school, you're not going to see anything insane here. So you don't need a college degree or some degree of any kind to understand data types. And so the good news is that anybody can learn this, even people in high school and potentially even folks that are in elementary school. So these are the types of things that you may be familiar with. So let's look at the first one. Let's talk about string. Okay, so a string is just what it sounds like. It's a string of text, essentially. And so you may be saying, okay, well, what is text? And text is any character that you could potentially type on the keyboard. Okay, it's probably the safest and most widely used data type in any of the systems because it is so versatile. However, there are certain instances where, for example, which is the next one, number is a data type, and it is just a numeric value. It's a whole number. It's not an integer that has a money value. That's the one below it, like a float or a decimal, right? Or pi or 1.1, anything with a decimal point, essentially, right? So if you want to add or perform calculations on numbers or floats or decimals, you need to use the right data types to do calculations on. In a lot of programming languages and even the low-code, no-code, you run into trouble when you start putting numerical values in as a string because it just sees it as a string, which means it's you can't compute a number value as it's looked at as a character, essentially. It doesn't see it as a number, it's just some character. And so it doesn't know how to add a plus b. Now, if you're in algebra, maybe you can do ab, but you can't throw that into just a general normal calculator, scientific calculator, I'm sure, yeah. But in any event, don't want to get off on a tangent or too confused there. And then there's also the concept of called Boolean. This is just simply a bit. And it's a binary type of decision. Yes, no, true, false, 0, 1, these types of things. So you start thinking about decisions that you need to make. Okay, if this is true, then that is true, then do this. And is it true or is it false, right? And so this is how we start making decisions in software. Essentially, that's all a computer is. It's a stupid machine. It knows zeros and ones, okay? So it happens very, very fast, but it's making a bunch of tiny little decisions of something is on or off, something is on or off, right? And it's a stream, a flood of 0, 1, 0, 1, I can't even talk that fast. But in any event, that's what a computer does. It just evaluates everything as 0 and 1. That's why it's called binary. Okay, and so with that being said, the final most popular one is date time. Now there's plenty of other data types that you're going to need to learn. Again, I'm just going through to show you what this stuff is so you can understand what it is and you learn the nomenclature or the language or how to speak like a programmer. Okay, that's what essentially what I mean by nomenclature, right? So you just kind of got to know these inside terms essentially. So data type is one of these terms. So I want to take a moment now to pop open, let's see, a web page. Okay, so here's Zapier's documentation online. And if we look at this, we can see that there's different field types. Okay, so here they talk about date time fields here. Great. Here's the number, integer fields. Here's true, false. They call it Boolean fields. These are just called file fields. This is a special data type that will allow you to upload a file, okay? So it's actually a data type, but it provides functionality into a system to where you can actually use files as a data type, okay? So keep in mind that's there, and we talk about decimal fields, and so that's that. Now, if we come over here to Microsoft and we look at the Canvas apps and the functions and stuff and what it has in here. Here's a whole list of data types, and here we'll see the same suspects plus a bunch of other ones. Color is a data type. Okay, this data type essentially holds red, or it holds these what they call hex values. If you know anything about web development or CSS, then this would make sense to you. If you're a graphic designer, you may even already know about RGBA, red, blue, green, and A for alpha, which essentially makes something opaque or not opaque, or transparent or less transparent, or degrees of transparency. And you can see that there's currency, there's date, There's date time. There's GUID, globally unique identifier, which is this long, wacky looking string thing. In any event, there's a lot of different data types, but as you can see, they vary from platform to platform. And so I just want you to understand data types, what it is, what it means, and it's basically of, whatever you're going to be solving in your business problem. Essentially, all of this is information. You just got to figure out what kind of information and what data bucket, data type, does it belong into? Is it a string? Is it a number? And what do I ultimately want to do with that number? Do I need to calculate it? If so, I probably need to make the data type a number, not a string or a text, okay? So these are the types of things that you want to be aware of. So that's it for this video. We're going to see in the next one, and we'll get started with that in just a moment.